Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we give you 4 or 5 interesting news stories about technology and science and creativity and things that have been in the news this week. If you've got a story you'd like us to cover one time, reach out. Creation Station at broward.org. Kind of stalling for time for just a moment as my guest host crashed out of the show just as we were about to go live. We're going to see if she can make it back in here. If not, we'll get started with our other show with the rest of our stories this week. There's some very, very cool news out of Google and Microsoft. And there's a horrible story out of Meta that came out this morning that we're going to probably cover next week. The short version of it is Meta and Microsoft had a severe issue of privacy Meta violation policies. I'm sure you're not surprised, but we'll try and cover it for you in the right way. Well, I'm going to get started while we're waiting for Kristen to get in here if she can. And we're going to start with a smile today. We have a very cool story from Global Voices, one of the websites that we use for the show here. If you're not familiar with them, they are someone who puts out stories in native languages for people. So I'm going to show you this story here on the screen right now in both English and the native language, which is a really cool thing to be able to see. And what they're doing, this story is about creating a new living dictionary, encyclopedia, just a language source for their own languages. Now, it's in South America, Guatemala, Colombia area, Native Americans, pre-Spanish conquistadors, and they're reconnecting their language. And so down here, you get a chance to see where they're talking about up in some of the mountainsides and hillsides. But one of the reasons I want to point out is that they are able to take this and create by using video, by doing all the current, what we all think of as just standard everyday things now, taking that out to the field and making that happen for people so that they get the chance to contribute on their own. And I want to scroll on down in this story. And if you're not in the show notes, the link is in the show notes more properly to make sure that you can go find this article directly to see some of these. And if you can't see it right now because you're only listening to us as you're driving or something like that, don't worry about it. I am not going to try and mangle any of these words, but down here near the bottom, you can see exactly what the difference is in building a dictionary like this, where you can put the native language in with the modern translations. We're using the Spanish. We're using the original English. See, this gets tricky. It's 3 languages at once. So they have their original language here. They have English, and you can do it in Spanish so that everyone has access to this and everyone can learn and they can keep their language alive. And I think that that's one of those really cool things that you can use social media for. You can use all these digital tools for to help people grow and expand and learn something else out there. And we're going to find out what happens with this. Next story that we have today is a weird one. If you have been following us for a while, we've talked about this. Back in season 1 or 2, we talked about this lawsuit because there was a partial decision, and then it was going back in for more appeals. Well, now all the appeals are wrapped up because they've decided to settle. So this lawsuit is all about an ISP, Frontier Communications, deciding that they had enough from the copyright holders, in this case the music industry, telling them what to do and how to treat their customers. As subject to the Digital Millennium Act, a copyright holder can file a complaint against a person who has illegally downloaded their information. That is not in dispute. That's something that should be happening. Don't steal from people. pay your artists. It's not that complicated, folks. However, they were trying to insist that Frontier Communications take away the ability to get to the internet for people who were downloading these files illegally. Not acceptable for most people in the first place. And to just blatantly do this for anybody who took one song or something like that. To be fair, there were some people who stole tremendous amounts of information. And those people were banned from using Frontier Communications by Frontier Communications. They chose to take those people offline so that because they could not convince those people to use their service responsibly. And so they took them off of there, and they were not allowed to renew their contract to sign up for the service again. Well, that wasn't good enough for the record companies. They wanted all these people taken off no matter what. They now have a settlement. And by the way, it's so long. Frontier Communications went bankrupt back in 2021. So 4 years ago, they went bankrupt and came out through bankruptcy court and all that stuff in the middle of all these lawsuits. These things take forever. So if you're ever looking for the courts to solve something for you, remember it takes years in most cases, especially when it gets complicated legislation. We're going to get to that in our next story. So we're going to talk about that right now. No, not our next story. I'm not going to cover that one next. I keep watching to see if Kristen's going to make it in. I don't think she's going to. So let me cover VCs, venture capitalists. These are people who have money. They invested in a company with the hopes that that company will make a lot of profit for them. So venture capitalists, you've heard about them in the news with all sorts of other businesses and everything. But the one we're going to talk about now is something that's happening in the global south. Again, this website, Rest of World, another one of those websites you should be watching because it gives you some really good information from a non-Western point of view. And in this case, it's Western venture capitalists going into countries like Brazil, Colombia, Kenya, Nigeria, etc., and selling them software or investing in their software that they're already doing as a homegrown thing to build up a way of, in this case, software to surveil employees, to track what you're doing on the computer while you're at work, to track what you're doing as you work from home, or in some cases, as you're driving, as you're doing your deliveries as a gig worker type thing, tracking you minute by minute, and in one case, second by second, how long it takes you to go from point A to point B to deliver your goods to do these things. Here in the United States, our delivery services are typically, an hour or less, a half hour or less. There are countries in Africa that guarantee 5-minute delivery. It's insane. I can't believe it. Also, I really, really hate this word bossware. I discovered that in this article of software that is there because your boss wants to watch you. The reason this is a story, though, is because some of these things are on the rebound now at post-COVID. As you can expect, a lot of companies wanted to invest money in researching and doing things of tracking their employees while they were working from home. That's one of the reasons why, especially in the United States, they wanted people to come back into the office so they could feel like they were tracking them better. They're not. Productivity has stayed roughly the same. If you work at home, when you come into the office, it seems to be trending a little lower. However, as you can see here on the spike, all that money that was being sent was dropping, and now it has leveled off, and it's at a much higher level than it used to be in some of these other countries. So I thought it was an interesting idea, and that one word, bossware, caught my eye, and I'm like, if I haven't heard of this, I bet you a lot of people have not heard of this, including biometric tracking. So if your boss gives you a watch or something, here's a health tracker, I probably wouldn't wear it. But that's just me. Now, we talked earlier about what you should and shouldn't do. Okay. Florida, where we are here down in Broward County, we are in Florida, and we have, I believe we have Kristen, who is here. Kristen has her ears in now. How are you doing, Kristen? Can we hear you?
Hey, Bob.
Yes, we can hear you and see you. Amazing.
I don't know what's going on with my computer. I've restarted it. I changed cameras.
But see, this is what librarians do. You solve problems.
Create problems, more like it.
Well, there is that. So I covered the first couple stories, and you got in here just in time for the two best stories.
All right, what are we on?
Florida banning kids from social media.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. So here's the issue. Oh, yeah, and I see that just before you got in, I made a comment about if your boss was going to give you a fitness tracker, maybe you shouldn't be wearing it because of tracking people's things. Yeah. Who's going to wear one?
Big Brother's always watching you, Bob. Always.
I know. The term of the day was boss wear.
Oh, boss wear.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I hate it. Oh my gosh. So here we go. Florida wants to ban kids from using social media. Number one, weren't any of these legislators kids at any point?
I don't think so.
I mean, how many of them went out and got a drink before they were under 21? Went out and drove before they had a driver's license, or what, all sorts of possibilities out there of what kids do that they're not supposed to do. Sneak into movies. I know I'm being nice about some of these things, that they do much worse things. I agree. I understand. But if we can't successfully ban any of those things, what in the world do you think is going to happen when you tell a teenager, no, you're not allowed to use social media until your parents sign off on it?
Well, here's the thing, too. What kid doesn't know what age you have to be or what year you have to put into any of these apps?
Right.
To say, oh, yeah, I'm 18 or I'm 16 or whatever the age is.
So if you're like, Bob, wait a minute, why are you talking about this? Didn't you talk about this last year? Yes, we did. Remember earlier in the show, we said lawsuits take a long time. This is one of those examples. So the bill passed back in 2024. And immediately, by the way, just over a year, it was in March of 2024 that the bill passed, was signed into law shortly afterwards. And then the lawsuits started. And now a federal judge has said, no, you're not allowed to put this law in place and enforce it because it's stupid. No, that's unconstitutional. I do want to point out the state legislature did do one good thing that the judge thinks is good, and I agree with him also on this. There is a provision in this law that requires companies to take people off of social media, kids, minors, when they have a signed request from a parent. So if you as a parent say, my child should not be on your platform, the company is required to take them off of the platform for you, which is a very good thing. If you're under 14, your parents are in charge, you should be doing that. I know some people may disagree with what age range. The legislature picked 14 and 16 and 18 as the benchmarks to go through. And anyone under 14 is just not supposed to be on at all.
That's all well and good, Bob, but here's the thing.
Okay. Yeah, tell me.
Okay, I'm a parent. I find my son on some site, right? And I send in that form to TikTok or whatever and say, my child shouldn't be on your platform. And then he goes and makes a new account and makes himself 18. So what's the fine? Some kids maybe aren't that savvy, but
Yeah. And that is actually part of the problem is it's such an overly broad law that there's no way to enforce it unless you require all of your users to submit personal data to verify who they are, such as a driver's license or passport or something like that, to be able to create and log into your account.
No, thank you, Big Brother.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, the story. I talked about it at the brief while I was waiting for you. Meta's got a huge privacy debacle happening right now that came out this morning. They are just. It's an impossible thing to do. You have to educate the parents. You have to educate the kids. You have to work with the companies to create policies that they will want to follow as a carrot rather than as sticks, because you can't beat the company. It just doesn't work. They're going to find a way around this. They're going to do something else to find a way to still serve their ads to who they want to serve to, because that's how they make money. If you're not paying for the service, then you are the service. I am baffled. By the way, in the show notes, all of the text of the law, because we do this all of our things. We always give you things. Go read the law yourself and see if you can find any way that this could possibly work.
Yeah, I have other things to do. Thanks.
I know. It's just so insane. It's just, you have to be able to, I'm sorry. We have so much bigger, better things to worry about than this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyone out there listening, if you have an idea about how to convince your child to be careful about using the internet, please write us in, creationstation@broward.org. We'll try to put your story on the air. We have one more story for you there, Kristen.
All right.
Brazil is going to let you keep your data and sell it.
Good.
You spoke about Big Brother. Thank you for the segue, because that's what this is. Effectively, this law will say, okay, Meta, you want to capture this information from people? You have to negotiate with them to buy it.
Exactly. Thank you. Sold.
I know.
Well, not sold. I'll keep my
awesome?
data. Thank you.
And that's the thing. What would it do? So parts of this bill, it hasn't passed yet, but it's going to. Everybody basically agrees this is going to pass because it's done by the ruling party and the president, and this is just one of those things of they're walking it through the process of creating and writing a law and passing it. It's kind of weird in that they are going to be using the blockchain to track and do things. And I know blockchain gets a bad rap as cryptocurrency stuff tends to be mixed in with it, but this is a different idea. And you would have your digital wallet and you'd have all of your information, your privacy stuff, and all your things there stored in it. And you get to choose which data you hand over to who and how much you're willing to sell it for. Doesn't this make a lot of sense?
And then company A buys company B's data from them.
Well, yeah, there's all this also. And I know there are people here saying, yeah, fine, Bob, that would work somewhere else, but it'll never work in the United States. No company would ever do that.
Because companies don't like money?
I would remind everybody that they do. Facebook, it was still Facebook at the time, when you bought the Quest, it was still a Quest. It wasn't a Meta Quest. When you bought the Quest 2, you could effectively buy a version without ad tracking. They charged you an extra $600 for the device, and you were never tracked. So that's how much your data was worth to Facebook at the time. $600 to not track you or keep any of that data. Yeah. Your money's worth something to these people, and they they know exactly to the penny how much they should be charging and how much they will take from you to not use it.
Yeah. It all just makes me want to go off grid.
Well, I mean, I think that part of it is the very first story that you weren't here to cover with us about the living dictionary and using all that, those good digital tools to create a working real thing of maintaining a language. We need those things. But then you get exactly, it's what when it's always for profit, who's making the deal? And somebody in the chat says paying me for my info is slightly different than charging me extra to not take my info. And yeah, I don't know what the math on that transaction works out to be. I doubt somebody's going to pay me $600, but I might be wrong. I don't know. Do you think you're worth $600, Kristen? Your browsing habits?
Way more than $600.
All of your browsing habits and all the stuff that you've done?
Yeah, they want to, see that I browse cat videos all the time. I don't.
Never know. PetSmart may find you very valuable.
Or that I'm crushing my brother on the New York Times Mini every day.
I'm sure somebody, maybe he'll pay so that doesn't go out. That's it. You convince him to pay you so you don't give him that data.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
He's not embarrassed by it.
Yeah. So if you've got some other crazy idea of what you want to do with your data and sell or not sell, reach out to us. Creation Station at broward.org, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, sorry.